Hello.
What is going on, guys? It's Triple G here, back with another Borderlands 3 video, and today I'm going to be talking through Endgame. I did this video a few months ago. It was really early on in my YouTube career. It's not very good, so we're going to redo it. We're going to do it better. There's going to be more content, more description, and you're going to enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, please consider subscribing to the channel or join us over on Twitch. We stream 5 times a week. And otherwise, let's get straight into this video. So you finish the story, you got yourself to level maybe 30 or 40 through the story, and you're wondering what to do next. You just had something pop up that says, let's do True Vault Hunter mode, but let me stop you there and say you do not need to do that. At present, as of the date of this video, there is no benefit from doing True Vault Hunter mode. You don't get any extra loot, any extra kudos, doesn't mean you can't 100% the game. Literally, there is no point, as of right now, as of today when I recorded this video, to do True Vault Hunter mode. So, with that out the way, the first priority that you should have is getting yourself to max level. As of the recording this video, the level is level 60. So I have a number of videos that show you quick ways for you can farm XP, Scrap Trap being one of them, Slaughter Shafts being the other, but we'll come on to that in a little bit later. But once you've got yourself up to level 60, that is the first step. The next step is identifying a build. Now, I have a number of builds that I will also link in the description below if you're looking for builds for each of the Vault Hunters. But you've got yourself a build, you're at level 60, you're good to go. And then you don't know where to go. So I'm going to talk you through exactly those steps and in terms of eases of difficulty. So the first thing I want you to know is there are things called proving grounds. Now the proving grounds aren't as apparent as they may think, or you think they may should be, because essentially they are hidden behind exclamation points. So you might have gone through the story and done all of the side quests, and then all of a sudden, you've got some exclamation points pop up on your screen. Now, the proving grounds, there are 6. So if I show you on my screen here, if you go to the map screen and go out to the world screen, you will see that I have 6 here proving grounds. And they're all called trials of different areas, and they're all named to different kind of like sub areas. So what you will need to do is travel around to the respective planets and pick up these effective side missions or trials. I will link in the description below to an article to tell you exactly where to find these. Essentially, these proving grounds are time trials, where at the end of the time trial, if you complete said task within that time limit, you get potential loot and a red chest. These are kind of entry level proving grounds, they're called entry level proving grounds. Anybody with a decent setup and a decent build should be able to complete these, and with an optimized build or a build that you might find on my YouTube page, you will definitely be able to complete these within the allotted time. Now, as of today's date, there is not a lot of loot out there that is considered top tier, but you can get some class mods in this area that can be quite substantial and can improve your build by quite a bit. So these are basic entry kind of endgame tier levels. You can solo these, you can still 4-player co-op, and if you go into the social area, you can also matchmake into these areas. So if we cycle across here, you will see that the proving grounds is on the far right hand side here, ready to go. So there's 6 of these. You've taken them on, you've completed them. Great. Next. Next is kind of like the mid tier of kind of end game. And that is here, the circles of slaughter. Now, though these are, again, there are 3 of these, 2 of which are exclamation point kind of side missions. And one of them on the Meridian Metroplex is you just go through a door and then you've kind of unlocked that. That is called the System of Slaughter. So essentially, you will find these. These are kind of horde modes with wave upon wave of enemies for 5 rounds. Again, particularly the one on Pandora, the slaughterhouse, is really good for farming world drop items. So any items that they could have a dedicated source but are also able to drop in the world the slaughterhouse is a fantastic place to farm for these items. And in addition to that, if you need XP or Guardian rank, it's a fantastic place for XP because there are plenty of badasses. So again, these are soloable content. You can still do them with a party. As you can see on this screen here, you can matchmake. And once you have unlocked those areas, you can then go back. So if I went to Pandora here, you can see at the bottom of this list, I have the slaughter shaft already unlocked. So I can return there. You do not have to complete the 5 rounds. You can just go in and just do as many as you can. If you die, then you go back to the start of the previous round that you were on, and you continue to get through. They will get harder and harder. If you do complete 5 rounds, you'll get a chest at the end with potential loot in it. But I'm going to be honest with you at this point, the loot on the ground is going to be probably better than the loot in the chest. If you do this on Mayhem 10, the ground will be littered with legendaries. You will not be able to see the minimap for the amount of legendaries that you get on Mayhem 10. This is a medium tier kind of activity. It is super, super fun, and I would still recommend everybody doing it. The rounds and the full completion of 5 rounds probably will take you 10, maybe 15 minutes each, and there are 3 or 4. Sorry, there are 3 of these. The other 2 are the Cistern of Slaughter, which is kind of like an animals and flying rack area, and then the Malawan 3000. Slaughter 3000 is kind of Malawan enemies with sniper jetpacks. So all super, super decent content, 20 minutes a pop if you've got an efficient build. And again, loot is abundant, particularly for world drops. The final thing, and what is considered absolute pinnacle content, is the takedowns. So there are 2 takedowns at the moment in the current kind of game. There are the Malawan takedown, which has been here for quite some time, and then there is the Guardian takedown, which has been here for maybe a month or 2. Now, these are both considered pinnacle content, but I'll go through each one individually because there are significant differences between A, the difficulty, and B, the loot. So if we start with the Malawan takedown, you'll be able to pick this up from Sanctuary. It will be an exclamation point with a diamond around it. And essentially, you will pick that up and you will fly to the Midnight Cairn via the drop pod. And when you get in here, here is the map. So you will fly down only 1 fast travel and you will drop in and you will take on this mission. Now, important things to remember about the Malawan takedown. The first thing is there is only 1 checkpoint halfway through. So if you die before you get to that checkpoint, you start again. If you die just before the boss or fighting the boss, you go back to halfway. Now, that sounds punishing. This content, when originally released, was released for 4 players. However, following feedback from the player base, there was only 14% of the player base that were able to complete this task solo. So they changed the things. So as we walk down here, you will see that you have the standard vending machines and everything like that at the front, and then you'll have 2 buttons. If you just press the button on the left hand side, the level and the enemies and the boss will be scaled just to however many people are in your party. So if you're soloing this for the first time, it's probably highly recommended that you go for the button on the left. If, however, this isn't your first time, or you think you've got a lot of confidence or a very good build, you can press this button. Now, this is true takedown mode, which was as Gearbox designed it, which means it is 4-player content. So the enemies and loot are scaled so that there are 4 players in there, meaning they have higher health pools and there are more enemies. So if you fancy a challenge, button on the right. If you're not so confident, button on the left. In terms of the loot, there are Mayhem 4 exclusives within this loot. So weapons like and artifacts like the Spiritual Driver can appear in here, the Juliet's Dazzle, the EMP5, those kind of items. In addition to that, there are some really, really good items if you're just starting through. So the Kibsworth and the Redistributor was kind of a signature weapon for Zane. So there are some good items in here. I will say that this takedown is definitely easier than the Guardian takedown. It takes you on an efficient build about 10 minutes to do without any skips or anything like that. And the loot is quite abundant. The enemies are quite difficult. If you bring any sort of radiation, there are no radiation resistance in the Maliwan Takedown, and it is definitely very, very fun. It was my #1 favorite thing to do once I'd completed Endgame. I would run this about 50 times a weekend when I was streaming, and I still run this today as it is incredibly fun. So the second and final takedown at the current time is on Minos Prime, and it is the Guardian takedown. As you can see here, straight away when we compare it to the Maliwan takedown, it's much bigger. And as you would expect, it takes a much longer time. So it has around about a 30 to 40 minute on an efficient build to get through this, particularly if you're solo. So we will travel down here and we will show you exactly the same thing. So there are two buttons, a button on the left for a solo scaled takedown where the enemies are scaled just for you, and the button on the right, again, scaled for 4-player true takedown, more difficult and potentially more profitable in terms of loot. Now, where this takedown differs and why it is the pinnacle content and why it is now very, very good to run is because they added some Mayhem 6 exclusives to this takedown in the latest hotfix. Now, this is really, really important because some of those Mayhem 6 exclusives are what are considered of some of the top tier meta guns, like the Monarch, the Plague Bearer, the Backburner. These are weapons that people use in their top min-max builds to take down some of the most difficult content. So it is definitely something you want to consider. That being said, all of these weapons have dedicated drops within the world themselves, and you may need some of those to take on this particular content. So, similar to the Maliwan takedown, the Guardian takedown has one save point checkpoint in the middle of the takedown. Now, where it differs from the Maliwan takedown is there are a little bit of a puzzle crystal section twice in this takedown, as well as quite a few substantial jumping puzzles and jumps that can be quite tricky. Now remember, if you fail a jumping section, you are either going to go back to the start or you're going to go back to halfway, and this presents a challenge in itself. So this is pinnacle content and it is worth going through. However, if you've never done it before, you can use the matchmaking system as I showed you earlier for the takedowns, and you can also find friends. If you do want to find other people to play with, please feel free to join my Discord. Links in the description below. We have nearly 2,500 players in there, so there are plenty of players to play with. Guys, that is it for the Maliwan takedown, for Endgame, for the Guardian takedown, Slaughter Shaft. We've been through the proving grounds. Of course, in addition to all of this, there is just the farming that goes, and it is traditional with Borderlands, you know, rocking up to a boss, absolutely deleting them, and then repeating until you get that perfect roll, that perfect build, ready for the next content that comes out. Don't forget, guys, on the 25th of August on the Borderlands channel, they will be revealing DLC 4 and probably a date for when DLC 4 releases. I will be there in the chat, chilling out and answering any questions that anybody might have. Otherwise, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, feel free to join me on Twitch. As I said before, I stream 5 times a week. And otherwise, I'll catch you on the flip.